Pastinaca sativa. Nickname for this plant is sunbrella. This is part 1, and in part 2 I'll be sharing a mnemonic or memory technique to help you commit to memory the most distinguishing characteristics of this plant for identifying purposes. Be sure to watch all of part 1 so that part 2 is understandable. This is a weedy plant. It is erect. At maturity, it is 2 to 5 feet tall. As you see, it branches occasionally, has yellow flowers. At the top of its stems is what is referred to as an umbel, similar to umbrella. This is a picture of a single umbel. However, the sunbrella has what is referred to in botany as a compound umbel. And that is this. Has long stems radiating from a single point. On the top of each of the umbel stems is what is referred to as an umbellet, where the same pattern repeats itself. Stems radiating from a central point. And this is what we have in the sunbrella plant, a compound umbel. Yellow flowers. Very long stems from the umbel, and as you see, somewhat shorter stems present on the umbellet. We see the seed starting to form here. We'll get into that later. These compound umbels are flat-topped. They are 3 to 8 inches across. For each umbel, there can be between 15 to 25 umbellets for each umbel. And about 12 to 35 flowers on each umbellet. Now, here we can see how the leaf here is compound. Basically means that it has multiple parts. It is not an entire leaf. It is not a solid leaf. It has what is called leaflets along the main leaf stalk or leaf stem. This plant grows from out of a first year rosette, which is a round formation of leaves without the central flowering stalk. The leaf stalk on the rosette of leaves is flat and it is grooved. It has ribs, just as the main central stem has ribs. These stems are also hollow, as you can see illustrated here. The edges of each leaflet bear coarse teeth. There are at least 8 teeth on each side of the leaflet. That is important to remember because there are some lookalikes that have non-edible roots, and knowing the number of coarse teeth along the side of each leaflet is only one way to help you distinguish the sunbrella plant from its lookalikes. I'll be giving you an easy way to remember this and the other distinguishing characteristics in the mnemonic. The stems are stout, just as the root is also stout. By the way, this root appears to represent the cultivated parsnip or sunflower. I'll be showing you an actual photo of the difference between the wild root and the cultivated root. This picture or illustration of the root is a bit more representative of the wild parsnip or sunbrella. The leaflets are opposite of one another. The compound leaf is what is referred to in botany as an odd pennant compound leaf. Odd meaning that it has a single leaflet at the tip rather than 2, which would otherwise make it an even pennant. Pennant is defined as being feather-like, shaped or having some characteristics of a feather, as this compound leaf does. So again, the compound leaf of the sunbrella is odd pennant. Leaflets again opposite of one another along the leaf stalk. They do not alternate. The flowers are yellow, as I said before. They turn into seeds. These seeds start out as being a yellowish green, more green than yellow, and then eventually mature, dry up, and turn brown. You'll be able to see better pictures of that in a later slide. A field of sunbrella plants. There are 5 petals per flower. The sepals are insignificant and the bracts are absent. This is a picture of the first year rosette. The second year, the flowering stem grows from out of the center of this rosette. Notice how the leaflets rise away from the main leaf stalk. That is characteristic of this plant. The leaves can be 18 inches long. Remember, this is a compound leaf. The entire leaf can be 18 inches long and 6 inches across. Each leaflet can be up to 3 inches long and 2 inches across. Coarse teeth around the edges. They can also be shallowly lobed or have shallow lobes. The lobes can also cut deep, right to or almost to the center of the leaflet. In the mnemonic, you'll be presented a way to easily remember this as well as many other identifying characteristics of the sunbrella. Notice again how the leaflets are rising up away from the main leaf stalk. The shape of the leaflets are characterized as being elliptical or oval. This, as you see, is a more elliptical shape like a football, with, of course, more of a deep lobe here, which throws that shape off somewhat. The leaves, or I should say the leaflets, are much larger at the bottom, and they get smaller as it ascends the leaf stalk. This also applies to the leaves. As the leaves, the compound leaves, ascend the central plant stalk, the leaves get smaller, as well as the leaf stalk. This picture better illustrates for us how, again, the bottom side of the leaflets rise away from the central leaf stalk. This is a central stem. As you can see, it is ribbed. These leaves, as you can see, the leaves alternate along the stem, whereas the leaflets are opposite. These leaflets, you see, are more of an oval shape. Leaflets on this side are more elliptical. Up to 18 inches long, becoming smaller as the leaves ascend the stem. When trying to identify the first year rosette, which bears the edible root, you will find the first year rosette in the same area as flowering stems, and a tip would be just to first identify the second year plant, of course. Look at its leaves and then compare the leaves to any rosette you might find in the area. Notice how the stems are hairless. This is a picture of a woman who was exposed to the juice of the leaf and or the stem. The part above the ground is hazardous. The plant juice from the broken leaves and stems can cause burns, blisters, rashes, and other lesions. Symptoms include redness, tingling, and blisters within 24 to 48 hours of exposure. Along with that, would need to be exposure to the sunlight. Now, more information about this reaction, its treatment, and how to avoid it is covered at Survival Plants Memory Course on the fact sheet of this plant. It is better to know the hazards of this plant than not be aware of these hazards at all, as I'm sure most of the victims were not aware of the hazards of this plant. Again, only the aerial parts of the plant, or the parts of the plant above the ground, are toxic in this way. Touching the outside of the plant will do no harm, but once the leaves or stems are broken, the juice comes in contact with the skin, this could and will likely happen. But again, I'll emphasize that ways to avoid this happening to you and how to treat this in case it does happen to you is thoroughly explained on the fact sheet at survivalplantsmemorycourse.com. Just click on the nickname Sunbrella. This is the seed pods. They're flat, smooth on one side and ribbed on the other side. These will eventually turn tan or brown. They're about 1/4 inch long. They split in two. This is a picture of them after they've turned color. This is a picture of parsnip or sunbrella, but these roots are that of the cultivated variety. People plant this in their gardens. They are not wild, whereas this is a version of the wild root. It is a taproot, as you see. It's forked, it's wiry, it's very stout, it's fleshy to the touch. Appears much like a carrot. It's white or cream in color. The wild variety of this plant, or the root that is more hard and woody than the cultivated variety, but they both have a very distinct aroma similar to parsnip. This is obviously a survival food. And since we're here, I'll go ahead and mention that in order to avoid the top part of this plant. If you have gloves, long sleeves, long pants, and possibly glasses, you can just grab the bottom part of the stem and pull this plant up like a carrot and then cut the stem away. To completely avoid the risk of breaking the stem and exposing yourself to the plant juice, I would suggest digging the ground away, or digging the dirt away from this root until you've dug the root completely out, or out far enough for you to grab it here in this area and pull it out. Again, if you touch the outside of this plant, it will do no harm to you. For the record, I don't want to say it will do no harm. If someone is completely allergic to plants, or this plant or that plant, grass, it might cause you some harm, but generally speaking, the outside of the plant is harmless. The edible parts of this plant are the roots and the seeds. To learn how to prepare these parts, go to survivalplantsmemorycourse.com and click on the Pastinaca sativa link, wild parsnip or sunbrella, all the same link. And there you will find the fact sheet. Methods of preparation is what you'll want to look for. This has been part 1. And in part 2, I'll be sharing a mnemonic or memory technique to help you commit to memory the most distinguishing characteristics of this plant for identifying purposes. Thank you for watching.